I just read White Nights by Fyodor Dostoevsky. It is not a professional review. It's just me sharing what I was thinking while I was reading the book. First things first, I'm a dreamer. I enjoy being a dreamer. I think life is boring without imagination. But this book reminded me that sometimes imagination means illusion. As a wise man once said, anything starting with over is harmful, because moderation is a life principle. So I kind of felt that dreaming is taking more of my time compared to doing. And another wise man recently said, a genius with no action can only watch his failures in 4K, because obviously you can't achieve anything by just lying down and smiling with your eyes closed. I don't know if Dostoevsky wanted to criticize his dreamer or praise him, but regardless of his intentions, I decided to wake myself up. The second thing I want to talk about is love. I know, we need to focus on the definition first, but you're already bored with my voice, my lack of editing skills, and you haven't fallen asleep yet, just because my voice is not as comforting as a lullaby. So let's skip that part and say the controversial sentence. I think love is dangerous. At least that kind of love, which spoils logic. I know for some people, love is not love anymore if you welcome logic. But reading this book and looking at the one-sided love in this story reminded me of my own experience in the past. Those pitiful moments of my life that were not so rare. And the funny thing is that I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being a pathetic creature who thinks his life is dependent on someone else's attention. I couldn't imagine that I was looking for something that I already had. I didn't know that you don't need anyone to become complete and perfect, because life is not like that. Complete and perfect don't exist, and love is not going to give it to you. Love is just an exchange. It gives you something and it takes something back. And that's just a good version of love, not the one that makes you end up with depression and a therapist. We can talk about love for hours. We can say that everyone's opinion on love depends on their personal experiences and the universe they lived in. But again, no one's listening so far to this podcast, so let's just jump into the next thing. When I read the book, my inner adventurer desperately wanted to visit St. Petersburg. He even wanted to live there for a year. Of course, he wanted to study Russian, even if mastering it needs more than a year in Russia. But I don't have the ability to respond to my inner adventurer, because my inner mate wants billions of things and I'm a finite creature with billions of limitations. So I just decided to wait until I reach my death time, and hopefully I'll achieve some of those dreams by that time. I already told you in the first part of this episode that a dreamer must stop dreaming too much. So enough of daydreaming. Let's make a podcast that earns money to live a year in Russia, Japan, Brazil, India, and even China. Okay, I'll stop. Let's talk about the next thing I want to document about this book. It's a sentence from the book. Even these tears will dry. I loved it. If I had a superhero ability to hear billions of needed quotations in 1 minute at the beginning of each day, this one could enter my library. Because it almost says, this too shall pass. That everything is temporary. And yes, sometimes this fact is scary, because relationships are temporary, youth is temporary, and that is depressing. But the good thing is that even depression is temporary. Wars will end someday, pandemics will become part of history, and I know that the effects of these tragedies will remain with us. But at least we will have some time to rest, recover, and look at the beauties this world has to offer. If you're still listening, let's talk about regrets. As the book says, grandmother always longs for the past. Back then, she was younger. The sun was warmer, cream didn't sour as quickly as it does today, and everything was better than it is now. I'm not a fan of nostalgia. I was, and again, I enjoyed it. But regret made me hate regret. In fact, those who spend years of their lives thinking about the past and enjoying it have probably not lived for the recent couple of years. So instead of thinking about memories, I decided to create new memories and enjoy the second approach. It doesn't mean that I've erased my past from my mind. It just means that being occupied with something in the moment takes the time you spend regretting your past. I'm not perfect, so sometimes I sleep. But overall, I'm satisfied with this new change in approach and attitude. At the end of the day, the clock's ticking, and we'd better use the remaining time wisely. Because Dostoevsky is asking us, what have you done with all these passing years? Where have you buried the best years of your life? Have you lived or not? I can go on and talk about the book for hours. If we had a book club in a bookshop in St. Petersburg, and we could discuss what we found interesting about the book. But the world is not working like that, and this channel has no active listeners yet. So until that day comes, this is Mana. See you next time.